Hey beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're gonna do a little something special. I've got a dupe battle for y'all. I've got the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance and the Beauty Creations Irresistible palette. So in this adorable little palette, hit the ground running on social media and especially Instagram. Everybody was talking about it. Plenty of YouTubers reviewed it, and I had to get my hands on it myself just to see what the hype was about. Girl, if you take a look, you would have to agree they are incredibly similar. In fact, they are even in the same order from left to right, starting at the very top there with the cream color. You can just move on down the line and the colors are in the exact same order. Now, up until the restock, I believe, so right when it was popular, even the shadow names were pretty much the same as the Modern Renaissance. Now that they have restocked, though, I'm sure there might have been a little bit of trouble with that. So they renamed their shadows, but it still sticks with the adorable little romantic theme. And so the big difference in these two are really the price. The Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance retails for $42, and the Beauty Creations Irresistible palette retails for about $15. Girl, you know I did some swatches for you guys. So over here we've got the Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. We've got the three shimmers and Venetian red, which is kind of like a red satin, and the raspberry color. I believe this is Love Letter. The raspberry matte at the top, and on this side I swatched the same colors from the other palette. And we've got the three shimmers down here, and honestly, if you look at them, they're pretty much the same. But up top is like, meh. I'm not digging the swatches on this end from the Irresistible palette, but you can see they're kind of similar. The one down here is also a satiny finish, and this one it's trying to be a matte, but it's also a satin, but the colors are really close. So, and I also want to remind you that hand swatches are very misleading. Sometimes the swatch turns out beautifully, on the eye not so much. So I want to really see if this performs with a brush and an applicator. So let's dive in. My primer on, I'm going to use my blending brush to throw a base coat of powder on each eye. And I'm going to start up here with Tempera. It's like a lighter skin tone neutral. And I'm going to use its twin over here. This one is Naked. I feel like this one's just a little bit darker, but let's see how they go on. So far, so good. I feel like the Anastasia Beverly Hills, it has more of a fine powder texture to it, and the Beauty Creations palette kind of reminds me of basically any other matte eyeshadow that I've ever used. I feel like the Modern Renaissance does have a lighter texture to it, and it did go on a little bit better, like it just, the powder was so fine that it just dusted right on, but neither one needed too much work or building. And I'm going to go in with Buon Fresco, and it's kind of, in this palette, it's like a purpley gray color. And over here, I'm going to be using Only Yours, which is, it seems more of like a flat, like slate gray. So I'm curious to see, how they differ from each other. So I'm going to be putting that as my transition color in my crease to brow bone area. I'm just going to use my blending brush again. I feel like that kind of disperses the powder fairly evenly. So the gray from the Irresistible palette took a little bit of convincing, but it did show up. And I am going to go in now with that Buon Fresco. And it definitely looks like a little bit lighter of a color. Came up on my brush just fine. Let's throw her on there. And immediately it's definitely more pigmented than the gray from the Beauty Creations. And it is a little bit more purpley than like a slate gray, as I So Buon Fresco definitely went on better than Only Yours. I only had to go back one more time with the Anastasia palette. This one I had to build up. I had to go back in a couple of times. So now we're going to get to the good stuff now that I've got my transition color on. On my ABH side, I'm going to go in with Love Letter. That's that beautiful raspberry matte. And on my Beauty Creations side, I'm going to go in with Kiss Me. And it's a little bit more of a satin, but it's trying to be matte, so I'll give her some credit. So I'm going to use my shader brush to throw these on there. We're going to start over here with Kiss Me. And look, that came up really well. I feel like it's more of a red raspberry color, and the Anastasia one, it's more of a pink raspberry color, so we'll see. I'm going to keep her close to my crease and just see how it goes. And that's going on okay so far. So the Kiss Me color from the Beauty Creations palette definitely took a little bit of building, but that's not half bad. That ain't bad at all. Most mattes you will definitely have to build and blend and work on. So now we are going to try the Love Letter from Anastasia, and like I said, it's just a raspberry matte color. I definitely feel like this is more pink than red, so let's see how this compares. Hopefully I'm not going to end up with two different colored eyes. And, woo, girl, look at that. Honey, that is some pigmentation right there. I have never had an Anastasia Beverly Hills product up until this palette last week, and girl, this is amazing. I'm loving her stuff. I still wish that this palette had some more shimmers in it for sure, but like really nice matte formula. One of the best. Girl, I ended up with two different colored eyes. But you know, so far it's still passing my standards for a good dupe. I think next I want to add some definition and deepen my crease just a bit. So I'm going to go in with Red Ochre on my Modern Renaissance side. And I'm also going to go in with Tender Kiss from the Irresistible palette on this side. And I think I will start there again. So I'm just going to take a little bit and throw it on the edge of my eyelid and into the crease a little bit. That's coming off just fine. That's really pretty. Look, it's coming off like really colorfully, and I'm not even digging in there. So these are coming up very well, and some of these shades are pretty pigmented. I feel like this palette definitely is hit or miss, but I will reserve my final judgment until I'm all done. Now I'm going to go in with Anastasia Beverly Hills Red Ochre and do the same. So one little application from the ABH palette, and that went on really well. Took a little bit of building, but these two colors are the most similar of the colors that I've used so far. So I just went ahead and buffed that color out a little bit. Next, I want to go in and try one of these shimmers. I'm really excited to see how this plays out because they look, they look so similar on the swatch. We'll see if that's still true after I throw her on. I think what I'm going to do is go in with Vermeer from the Modern Renaissance. It's kind of like a creamy pearl color. And then I'm going to go in with True Love from the Irresistible palette. I feel like this is also a cream, but it's leaning closer to a champagne. So similar. These shimmers are really they're super creamy, almost wet feeling, kind of what you would expect from a Morphe palette. And if any of you have ever used a Morphe palette, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those shimmers are just so smooth and soft and so much fun to swatch. They're so beautiful. Might need a little bit of blending towards the outside, but we're gonna see. Now I'm gonna do the same on the other eye with Vermeer. That one's really nice and creamy too, which it better be. It's the fancy palette, I'm just saying. I gotta hand it to him. This went on just about as well as this one did, though it is a smidge bit darker, and this seems to be more like a white, and this is definitely more of a cream. They both went on really well, and it's definitely comparable to the Anastasia Beverly Hills. I think on my eyeliner though, I'm kind of curious about Smack and Venetian Red. I want to see how these two compare because that one swatched terribly over here. I mean, it's so sheer and see-through. I don't know how it's gonna perform. And this one went on okay, but I gotta compare the two. So I'm just gonna add just a teeny bit on my outer corners. We'll see. You know, to be fair, I did put these colors over top the white shimmer that we just added to our lids. But in my honest opinion, while they both showed up pretty well, I feel like the Irresistible palette performed better than the ABH just on the color Smack and Venetian Red. It's definitely a surprise because that swatch is flippin' terrible. So really, it performs okay with a brush. I don't know how well it'll go on with an applicator, but so far just like a tapered blending brush basically. I think that did okay. And since we are running out of time, I went ahead and highlighted my inner corner with the gold from both palettes. That is Primavera from the Modern Renaissance and Love Letter from the Irresistible palette, and I went ahead and smoked out my lower lash line as well. Raw Sienna and Cypress Umber on this side, and we have Bear and Yours from the side. Final thoughts on these two pretty ladies. This is definitely a decent dupe for the Modern Renaissance. It's not perfect, and no, it's not the best eyeshadow I have ever used, but for a $15 palette that's attempting to do like a full rose gold thing over here, girl, it did great. You know, I mean, the shimmers are fabulous. The mattes are they're a little hit and miss. We definitely had some misses over here, but I really did feel like this Smack went on like a whole lot brighter on this side than the Venetian Red did on this side, so I kind of liked that. As far as the all-around texture and feel of these shadows, I feel like this was definitely a thicker, chalkier formula than this. This went on like a dusty dream. I was surprised that this didn't tug as nearly as much as I expected it to, but this went on really smoothly, and this, like I said, needed a little bit more work put into it, but I would definitely say that the Irresistible palette won the dupe battle today. It's not perfect, no, but it's probably the best dupe out there you'll find for the Modern Renaissance palette. So I've got plenty of awesomeness coming up this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like these. And please feel free to check out my giveaway video. That is open until 5/29, so you still got some time, honey. In the meantime, you know I love y'all. Mwah. Be good to each other. You're beautiful. I love you. Bye, everyone.